What's going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Football Busters. You'll notice we're wearing the same outfits because it is still Tuesday, October 11th. We've decided to break down the injury and recap videos in the two videos just because they were monstrous before. So we're hoping to cut our times down a little bit for you guys for the content, get 3 videos out a week. So this is going to be our NFL Week 5 recap. My name's Will, and today I'm joined by my lovely host, Mr. Eric McCarty. Eric, you got anything to say to the people? How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I hope the people are feeling great. I know you're feeling great because we just recorded a video before this, so I talked to you already.
Hell yeah, bro. So we can go ahead and we can jump right into it. Uh,
Let's
just
get it.
overall down week for quarterbacks, but running backs are back. They are
Oh yeah.
back in full swing. We're gonna hope that sticks around for a while. But let's go ahead and jump into our first segment, the studs and duds, and we're gonna roll right into our studs. Just a reminder, all of these guys, we're gonna try to keep them at a threshold, just so we're not naming a ton of people. So quarterbacks over 25 points, running backs over 20, wide receivers over 20, and tight ends that perform over 15. Just to have some sort of distinction between who is a stud and who is a dud. So rounding out the quarterback position, we got the usual suspects. We got Josh Allen, we got Mr. Patrick Mahomes, we got Jalen Hurts. 3 guys we fully expected to do well. But a surprise we have on this list, someone we never thought would be on this list. If you had asked this last year, yes, this year before, asked us 3 years ago, he would never be in this list. But he is this year, Mr. Geno Smith. Looking like
Yeah.
he is a
Yeah, the
top 10, at least a top 10 quarterback in fantasy rest of season in this offense. Eric, what do you have to
yeah.
say about that?
I'm shocked. Never in a million years would I have predicted that Geno Smith was going to perform like this, that the Seahawks were going to perform like this without Russ, that, Pete Carroll was getting held back by Russell Wilson. I never would have thought. I never would have thought. But here we are. This season's crazy, and I'm happy for Geno, man. He's balling. He didn't quite meet the 25-point criteria. He was really close, but we
Mm-hmm.
felt like he was worth mentioning for sure. Yeah, Allen, Mahomes, Hurts. Duh, we don't need to talk about them too much. But Geno, man, yeah, he's not a streamer anymore. He's legitimately like solidified within that top 12, I think, and should be rostered and probably started in all leagues.
It's insane. It's
It
absolutely
is insane.
insane. But it's
Yeah.
the league that we work with. Something I always try to remind people, and this is just a quick aside, I'm gonna make this as quick as I can. But don't play people based on their history. You know what I'm saying? Like you got the Russells of the world who are doing shitty this year that were good in the past, but you can't just start them because of a name. You got to start them based on what they're doing. And right now, Geno Smith is performing. So for you to not start him and have a top 12 QB just on the bench just because doesn't make sense. So
Yeah.
got to trust the numbers at a certain point. And Geno Smith, he's got the numbers right now.
Yep.
And then rolling forward
Yeah.
into
So
this running back position that we are so glad to see these guys perform. I'm going to just start listing off names. We got Austin Eckler. We got Lombardi Lenny, Leonard Fournette. We got Josh Jacobs. We got King Henry. We got Nicholas Chubb. We got Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, all back. All back. And we got some new names to add to this list. Mr. Brees Hall popping off.
yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely
Brees
popping
Hall
off.
exploding onto the scene. I'm really happy about this one for him, but also for us because he was one of our buy low candidates these past couple weeks. We've been preaching that this game was coming, and it finally did. And it could have been so much bigger. He got tackled on the 1 yard line twice, and he still scored over 25 points. Could have been just an astronomical type game. I do want to note the Jets have a pretty tough schedule for the next few weeks going forward. Um, but I mean, Brees is balling, and he's the clear focal point of this offense. So you're starting him regardless. But yeah, fantastic to see him explode, and great to see all of like we mentioned with the quarterbacks. These running backs are the usual suspects. Glad to see them back in the fold and producing.
Yeah, it's about time. Seeing Dalvin Cook actually have a good game like that after coming off the shoulder injury was awesome to see. Alvin Kamara being back was awesome. And Austin Eckler with a gigantic performance this week as well. Didn't see
Yeah,
that coming. 173 yards on the ground was insane. It's
Yeah.
awesome to see running backs are back, man. And then we got some new names that also they didn't really make the threshold, but they were extremely close. So we do still want to talk about them. We got Mr. Damian Pierce of the Texans. We got
Man.
Ramondre Stevenson. We've got Raheem Mostert, somebody we talked about last week that we said was getting more involved in this offense. So that's
Yeah.
more of the quality content here. Make sure you subscribe, comment, like, get us out there a little bit
Oh
more
yeah.
for everybody else. We got Mr. Kenneth Walker, who I talked about in our last video. If you haven't seen the injury recap, check that out because he's somebody to keep a huge eye on this week. Blow your fab on him if you haven't already. This video may come out after waivers, though. But Kenneth Walker with 14.8 points after only 8 touches. He's looking to get very involved. And then Travis Etienne. Why did I say?
Yeah.
Yeah, Travis Etienne. That's his name. Jesus.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. Taking another, I'm not going to say a huge step up in this offense, but at least another baby step up into that lead back role in this offense, even though it was a bad game for the Jaguars as well. You got anybody you
Yeah.
want to talk about in this particular, or even any of these guys, Eric?
Yeah, we don't have to go super in depth, but I want to go quickly with these guys. Damian Pierce, I think, in my opinion, has locked himself in as probably a top 12 running back the rest of the way. Maybe top 15. I don't know if 12 is a little too ambitious. What do you think?
He's definitely a locked in RB2 for sure. He's a locked in
Oh, easy.
RB2 for sure.
Yeah.
But top 12, I could understand that argument 100%. He's just been performing. He's gotten all the opportunity in this offense. So, yeah, I
All
could.
of it. Yeah, he's getting like 95% of the rushing work. He's also getting targeted at a fairly high rate. I want to say he got 5 targets this game. He's absolutely balling, no matter the game script, really. And then Ramondre Stevenson, obviously with Damian Harris going out with Ty Montgomery not in the game, this is what we would have hoped, that he would shoulder the load and he would be able to, carry this team to a victory, which he pretty much did single-handedly. I want to say over 20 carries, 160 yards. He absolutely balled. So that's what we hoped for from Ramondre. Mostert, like you said, we highlighted him as a buy low candidate. He's clearly the lead back in this offense. Chase Edmonds actually ended up with less opportunities than Myles Gaskin this week. Not sure what's good with that. They paid him a bunch of money and they're just not using him. Seems like Mike McDaniel's taking the Kyle Shanahan route, saying, fuck my RBs that I draft highly or pay a lot of money. But yeah, Raheem Mostert's balling. Kenneth Walker, obviously, with Rashad Penny going down, he's a huge, huge ad. Prioritize him heavily. And Travis Etienne, I think, is the most interesting one to talk about here. James Robinson had a great start to the season, but I think his efficiency was kind of blown out of proportion just by huge breakaway runs. And like, you don't want to take that away from him. Those are part of the game. That's part of fantasy production. That's what happens. But I don't think that they were as predictive as what ETN has been doing and like his efficiency. He's clearly the more explosive player. And in this game, where like last week we were worried that maybe it was because of game script where they got down that ETN led the team in opportunities. But this one, it was a close game throughout. I think the game was tied for most of the time, and ETN still led the team in opportunities. So, it might be a changing of the guard. ETN might be the lead dog in this offense, and I think he's more talented. So hopefully he continues to get that work.
Absolutely. And then rolling over into the wide receiver position, we got a lot of the usual suspects here as well. We got like Devontae Adams, Jay Jettas, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs. We also have some names that we didn't really expect to see too much here. We have a buy low candidate that we had on our list. Mr. Gabe Davis blew up this week. We got Tyler Lockett making a sort of a resurgence this week. We got Jacoby Myers coming back. He came back off injury this week as well, didn't he? Coming
Yep.
back off injury, still performing at the level he was prior to it, so that's good to see. And then De'Ami Brown of the Commanders.
I don't know what's good with that.
Yeah, I think he only had 2 catches as well. He had like 2 catches for over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, which
Yeah.
nobody had that on their bingo board, I don't think. But like we said, with the usual suspects, there's not much to talk about. Devontae Adams, Jay Jettas, Cooper Kupp, and Diggs all did exactly what they were expected to do. Gabriel Davis showed this week exactly what the volume of the wide receiver 2 on the Bills means. And it means the 2 touchdowns. He had over 30 points this week in fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just he's in a high-powered offense. He's got opportunity. Seems that ankle is fully healed and recovered from at this point, or at least at a point where he can just still play at a high level. So Gabe Davis back on the board as a highly touted candidate for just a good wide receiver in fantasy. And Tyler Lockett benefiting from the Seahawks offense somehow being the eighth best offense in the NFL right now.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty crazy. I want to talk about Gabe Davis. Like you said, we did have him on our buy low list. I want to say 2 weeks ago, and now that he's back fully healthy. Obviously he's balling. I don't want to victory lap too hard on that one because I was definitely a little bit conflicted. He's a guy that we've talked about throughout the offseason, throughout the beginning of the season, where like the opportunity in this offense is probably enough to make him super fantasy viable, but we're not 100% sure if he's like that talented, if
Yeah,
he's an elite NFL receiver. And I think both of those can be true. I think that is probably the case. He wasn't targeted heavily. I think he still only had like 18% target share, maybe even less than that. I want to say he only caught 3 passes. Obviously, 2 of them were just deep bomb touchdowns, which is his specialty. He's a deep threat. He makes big plays, and in this offense, that's all you need to be a crazy fantasy producer.
yeah. So it's one of those situations. I'm kind of approaching Gabe Davis similar to like Mike Williams in previous years. Now, obviously, I think Mike Williams is a more talented wide receiver than Gabe Davis. But in terms of, there's going to be weeks where it's a huge boom. There's going to be weeks where he's not doing too great. He's kind of, you signed up for the roller coaster, so this is kind of where we're at. And then
Yeah,
for two wide receivers that didn't quite make the threshold, but still worth talking about, someone I just mentioned, Mr. Mike Williams of the Chargers, and we got Hollywood Brown for the Cardinals. Two guys who performed very well this week. Mike Williams, I believe he didn't see the end zone, but still had a pretty big week.
bro, he got robbed too. He
Yeah,
had a huge week without seeing the end zone, and he caught a touchdown. Man, dude, okay,
here we go.
quick rant. Like the whole toe tap thing, you can toe tap with your toes like forward. If this is the sideline and these are your toes and you're falling this way, toe tap, good, touchdown. But if you're going backwards and you toe tap like
And
with
then
your
your
heels
heels hit
up
the ground.
and like toes on the ground and that's it, and you catch it, possession, that should be a fucking touchdown. But then because you have heels, because you're a human with heels on your feet, they hit the ground and now you're out of bounds. That's ridiculous, bro. That's happened a couple weeks in a row now. It just happened to Mike Williams. I'm pissed about it.
And it's
Anyway,
actually
that
like one
doesn't
of the
matter.
more natural ways to catch a ball too, especially like the back of the end zone. It kind of makes sense that
Yeah.
they need to fix that. I also agree with that. It is ridiculous.
Like if your whole foot plants on the ground, heel down, toe down, sure. Like that's out of bounds. I get
Right.
it. But when the tips of your toes are down, you get possession. There's like a certain amount of time there before your heels touch. Like I just feel like that should count. That's so lame.
No, I agree. That's something that should be revisited. I don't know if teams might have to start making a fuss about that actually, but if it keeps happening,
Yeah,
they might start.
we'll see.
And then
Um,
Hollywood Brown had a big game. Not quite enough to get to that 25-point threshold, but he has been performing the way that we had hoped him to be these last few weeks, and hopefully that continues. But remember also, after this week, Mr. DeAndre Hopkins will be back.
yeah, So I just looked it up. Marquise Brown is the wide receiver 6 on the season so far.
Hmm.
So I'm incredibly happy with that. I couldn't have asked for more. He was the guy that I was super high on in the pre-draft process. But that is very important to note that DeAndre Hopkins is coming back. What do you think that means for this Cardinals offense as a whole and for Marquise Brown?
I don't know if it means too much for Marquise Brown. I think he's still going to get his opportunity. I think it's going to mean more for everybody else around Marquise Brown. Like maybe Rondale Moore gets toned down a little bit. AJ Green's probably not going to be on the field as much. And Zach Ertz may not have as big of a target share, but I feel like what Marquise Brown and Kyler kind of have is sort of solidified. But if anything, maybe Marquise Brown's possession role is going to come down a little bit more. He's been used a lot as a
Yeah.
possession wide receiver, and obviously that's where D Hop kind of thrives. So, but we've seen D Hop also kind of take a step back. So it's going to remain to
Yeah.
be seen until he comes back fully and we get to see him in this offense and see how this offense operates. But me personally, it doesn't scare me off of Marquise Brown.
Yeah. No, I love everything you said. I think that was all um, I think that was all correct. Like you said, DeAndre Hopkins is going to take over more of the possession role, which hopefully means that Hollywood will get more downfield looks, more explosive plays. He's been sticking pretty close to the line of scrimmage for most of it, just because that's what the team needs him to do right now. But yeah, I think this affects more of the other guys, like you said, Rondale and Zach Ertz, who has been that possession guy for them so far,
Hmm.
might get pushed to the wayside a little bit.
And then for the tight end position, we've got we got two
Bruh.
names you'd expect and one name that I hate is on this list, but it's on the list. We got Mr. Travis Kelsey had a huge night last night. Patrick Mahomes didn't know how to throw touchdowns to anybody else but Travis Kelsey. Mark
Four.
Andrews, yeah,
Count them. Four with like 25 yards, but four touchdowns, bro.
didn't know how to throw it to anyone else for a touchdown. But we love to see that as Travis Kelsey owners. Mark Andrew having his typical pretty big game, and then Taysom Hill with a 30 bomb, two rushing touchdowns, one passing touchdown, I believe, right? It's
And did so as a tight end, technically, without a receiving yard.
yeah, I think ESPN at this point, I don't know what the fix is for Taysom Hill because I know everybody loves to bitch and complain in fantasy leagues about Taysom Hill. Lord knows I've heard my fair share of complaining about Taysom Hill in prior years, but it's what position is this guy? Because they just use him anywhere. So it's like, can you
Yeah.
possibly make someone a flex only player? Is that possible? Is that fair to Taysom Hill?
I don't think that would be fair to anybody, but I like where
Yeah,
your head's at. We need to be brainstorming about this.
somebody's got to do
Obviously,
something about this guy.
yeah, yeah. It's not going to change mid-season. So if he's tight end eligible in your league, he's going to continue to be tight end eligible unless your platform is ridiculous. Because changing eligibility mid-season would be nuts.
They've done it
Um,
before, though. They have done it before. They did it the year he was a quarterback. They swapped him from
oh,
tight
and like
end to a quarterback.
mid-season.
Yeah, it was the year that they let him play quarterback where Drew Brees went down, Jameis didn't play. Everyone thought Jameis was going to start. Taysom Hill
Yeah.
started at quarterback, and they left him as a tight end for that week, and then they changed his designation to a quarterback afterwards.
Okay. All
Hmm.
right. Well, disregard what I said then. Maybe be fearful that they
Yeah.
do that. Um, but I do. I want to talk about this seriously, even though it's crazy, even though it seems unsustainable. I don't know, man. They're clearly giving him these really, really high value opportunities. It seems like every time he touches the ball, it goes for a huge play. At the tight end, in the tight end landscape, nobody's producing outside of Kelsey and Andrews. If he's on your waiver wire, which for a lot of people he probably is, like he's another guy that I'm probably blowing a good amount of my fab budget on. Like he's gonna be a big producer, even if it's not consistent, which it probably won't be. But from the tight end position, I don't care.
Yeah, it's like you can go with an actual tight end who might get you 5 points, or you take a chance on Taysom Hill who could get you 30 for that week. But like
Yeah,
either way, unless you have Kelsey or Andrews, it's looking like that tight end position is kind of beat. Except for these three guys who were just outside of the threshold, who have been performing for the last couple weeks. We've got David Njoku, we got Tyler Higbee, and Zach Ertz, who have taken sort of an uptick. We talked about Zach Ertz a little bit earlier about his role and how that might change with D Hop coming back in week 7. But with Njoku and Higbee, it's seeming like kind of have their roles right now. At least with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback for David Njoku as well. He's been getting plenty of looks. And we talked about that before the season started. Jacoby Brissett loves
yep.
throwing the tight ends, and David Njoku's been performing, and he's been doing well with that role. And then Tyler Higbee, I don't want to talk about the Rams, so I'm going to let you talk about that.
The Rams fucking suck. They're really, really bad. Okay. So let's get that out of the way. The Super Bowl hangover for both of these teams has been crazy. The Rams and the Bengals are both disappointing this year, but let me not rant about that. Let's talk about Tyler Higbee and David Njoku. They're both in similar situations where they're pretty much the clear number two in their offense. Um, Cooper Cup and Amari Cooper happen to be the ones in their respective offenses there, but these guys are getting a ton of targets. It seems to be consistent. Even when they don't get in the end zone, they're still putting up really, really usable fantasy weeks at the tight end position. So going forward, I'm starting these guys with confidence. I think they're well within the top 8, maybe even top 6 at this point. I'm starting them over probably Kyle Pitts, unfortunately. Maybe even Waller when he gets back healthy. Maybe Kittle. We're talking that kind of territory where they're really locked in viable tight ends.
Yeah, this has been a wild year at the tight end position. It always kind of is, but this year in particular feels especially bad for some reason.
Yeah.
And with that, we're moving over into the duds category. Some people we had hoped to not see on this list this week. We've got Mr. Lamar Jackson. We got Justin Herbert. We got Kyler Murray. We got Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff. And Eric's laughing because there's someone on this list who was actually in the middle of it that I skipped to wait until the end. And that would be Mr. Russell fucking Wilson. And I'm just going to talk about this real quick. The only way I can describe this, KJ Hamler described it perfectly after the game, and he didn't even say a single word. Just took his fucking helmet off and started beating it on the ground like a fucking caveman because he couldn't believe that Russell Wilson couldn't get him the goddamn ball wide open in the end zone for a game-winning touchdown. And it's felt like that this whole season. It's felt like I just don't know what to do. I I'm dropping Russ to waivers probably. I'm tired. I had Geno Smith on my bench for the last 2 weeks. Last week it didn't hurt me too much because, Russ ended up looking like Russell Wilson. But it's really starting to look like Russ is just not good. Like and that's what I was talking about, where I gotta start Geno Smith or I'm the fucking idiot. I'm the idiot. I'm the problem. I'm the drama. If I keep starting Russell Wilson and expecting him to do his fucking job that he gets paid $250 million to do. So, that's just my take on it. That's just me, That's just me. That's my soapbox.
Preach. Yeah. No, all warranted. Totally correct. I'm dropping his ass. Something actually that I think we forgot to mention in the injury recap video is that Russ did get injured in this game.
Yeah, apparently got injured in the last game.
Oh.
Yeah, he had gotten, not this week's game, but the last game, they said he had gotten injured in the third quarter, played through the fourth quarter, and then played through this entire game hurt, is what I saw. I don't know how true that is.
Yeah, is it that same injury that they're talking about? Like, they're saying he might have torn something.
Yeah, they're saying it's like that partial tear in his shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking.
Anyway, regardless, if he was healthy, we're still dropping him. Yeah, he's garbage. Especially if he's going to miss 2 to 4 weeks. Get out of here. Get out of here, Russ. So, yeah. Some disappointments this week. Lamar, Herbert, obviously, you're going to continue to start them. Just down weeks from those guys. Kyler, I'm hoping that when DeAndre Hopkins comes back, he gets more consistent, but it's hard for me to say that when I just have no trust in Cliff Kingsbury.
I have no trust in Kyler, especially if it's a double XP weekend. Did you see that stat, bro? Did you see the stat?
I didn't see the most recent one. I've seen like some of the memes about it.
Throughout Kyler Murray's career, this is from college up until now.
Okay.
He is 3 and 43 on a Call of Duty double XP weekend.
43?
3 and 43.
Dating back to college, too.
Dating back to college. So the more time that goes by, the more I'm seeing that whole study clause may be a real thing. It's not looking great for him. Honestly, it's not.
Damn, that's rough. That's rough.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say about that. Get your shit together, Kyler. And then Trevor Lawrence. I don't know what to make of this Jaguars team, man. We thought they were kind of on the rise, and then scored, 6 points against the Texans and lost?
Yeah, not a single point. Not a single touchdown against the Texans.
Yeah. I'm hoping this is just growing pains for Trevor Lawrence, and this is going to happen some games, and, sometimes he's going to blow up. What do you think? I really don't know what to say.
So I don't think, like you said, I think it's just growing pains. I think I'm kind of looking at this year really as Trevor Lawrence's rookie year. I think last year was sort of just another year pretty much in college for Trevor Lawrence. But this year it's like, there's going to be a lot of highs. There's going to be a lot of lows. From what I've seen of the good, I'm still confident in Trevor Lawrence and this team going forward. But I think this was just a hiccup on the road. Probably going to take some time to evaluate it this week and come back stronger. And as we've seen, like they've been moving a lot of pieces around just to see kind of who is who. Like we've seen Etienne sort of get a bump up, James Robinson get a bump down. Obviously, Christian Kirk hasn't been getting the same looks that he was getting early on in the season. They've been giving us the more, I guess, other people. I think they're really feeling out this team to see who's who. So I'm not ready to hit the panic button on the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence yet. But if we see this again next week, that's when I'm going to start to get nervous. You know?
I think that's fair. And that's a good transition into our running backs. James Robinson is also on this list. Christian Kirk will be on the wide receiver list as well. But for running backs, we got James Robinson, A.J. Dillon, J.K. Dobbins, Najee Harris, Devin Singletary, finally CEH, thank the Lord,
fucking God, it makes sense.
and Jamal Williams. Is there anybody you want to single out in here and talk about specifically more in depth?
We can talk about CEH real quick.
Oh,
Told
yeah.
you. I told you. I told you. We've been saying it. We've been saying it since week one. It didn't make sense. He had a game that he should have had yesterday. This is who CEH is. Now, I could very well say that and he can get 15 points next week or he can get 20 points next week. But I promise you, I'm going to be saying the same shit. So I'm not changing what I'm saying. CEH is not. He was working at a crazy high efficiency rate. And for him, this is him coming back down to earth and just sort of being the player that he has been for the last 2 years. So it's not really me hating on CEH too much. I really did like him as a player and a prospect coming into the NFL, but it's just he hasn't panned out. And in terms of fantasy, he was panning out at a very high level, and it didn't make sense. But this week sort of made a lot more sense going forward. And it hurts to see some of these other guys on this list. I'm not gonna lie. Seeing J.K. Dobbins on this list after the week he had last week kind of hurts, but with the game being what it was as well, I guess it kind of made sense. But do you have anybody you wanted to single out on this list?
Yeah, so James Robinson, I think, is worth talking about. We talked about it in one of our more recent videos. I'm forgetting when we talked about it specifically, but ETN is starting to have his takeover. He's starting to take over the backfield in a game where the game scripts didn't really play a factor. Like 2 weeks ago, we thought maybe James Robinson sat behind ETN because they were down by so much, but they were in it this whole game, and he still didn't perform. So maybe the Achilles is affecting him in the way that we thought it might in the offseason, and he just kind of outperformed in the beginning of the season. We'll see if that continues. AJ Dillon is somebody I wanted to ask you about because I know you drafted him in one of our leagues. I don't know if you've been paying close attention to the games or not. What are your thoughts on AJ Dillon?
The Packers lied. Essentially, he's the backup running back. I don't know why they lied to us like that, but I mean, he's the backup. He's a certified backup. As long as Aaron Jones is performing the way that he is, I don't think AJ Dillon's really gonna get a lot of burn. Now, with the touches he has gotten, he's done well with them. I'm not gonna say he's been a bad running back, but he just hasn't really gotten the volume that we would have hoped to see. This was a closer game, so the game script didn't really fit AJ Dillon's sort of play style.
That's like the
But
closer.
yeah, it's like sort of that closer, that guy who comes in late game and gets a lot of points and just sort of downhill runner type of player. They didn't really need that. It does scare me a little bit about AJ Dillon because I know I spent pretty high draft capital on him. I know a lot of people did. He was going as like a third, fourth round pick. So it hurts to see him on this list. It hurts to see his production thus far this season, but it also could very much change once they go. A lot of things always change for teams after bye weeks. So it's not completely over for AJ Dillon, but I am a little bit nervous about him. Not going to lie.
Yeah, and this was the first week that it kind of strayed from that pretty close to 50-50 split where Aaron Jones really separated himself as the lead dog here. So that's definitely something to monitor going forward. J.K. Dobbins, I think maybe we should have seen this one coming a little bit. He had two fluky touchdowns last week where the team, whatever the situation was, somebody got tackled near the one and J.K. happened to be the one that got in. He did look good. I think he looked good 2 weeks ago. I think he looked good this week. It's just the opportunities weren't there as much. And, you know, the red zone opportunities weren't there as much. He only got, I want to say, 9 carries this game. Kenyon Drake was actually fairly involved. So maybe Dobbins isn't quite back on the map the way that we thought he was going to be. Najee's on this list. as much as it sucks for Najee owners, this is to be expected. He actually got out touched and outperformed by Jalen Warren
Hmm.
in this one, which is pretty crazy. Um, Devin Singletary, we mentioned last week, is a guy that you probably only want to start when you think it's going to be a competitive game, and that happened to be the case. He didn't have a good game in this one when they blew out the Steelers. Um, yeah, I think those are all the guys I wanted to touch on. Maybe Jamal Williams. They have a bye this week, but he wasn't like the workhorse. Craig Reynolds actually out touched him in this one, so that was interesting to see and worth noting going forward. We'll see what the split ends up being once they get back from bye and DeAndre Swift is healthy. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Then moving on to the wide receiver position for our duds, we have T. Higgins, who got injured, re-aggravated that ankle injury. We've got A.J. Brown. We got Jalen Waddle, the Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Christian Kirk, and Brandon Cooks. All of these names hurt to see, except Brandon Cooks. Kind of expected that from him, honestly. But Christian Kirk definitely hurts to see. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I believe he was on a pitch count this
he
week as
was.
well, coming off that injury. So we're more optimistic about Amon-Ra St. Brown bouncing back. Same with Christian Kirk. I think it's just more of a this team's sort of figuring stuff out right now, but I think he is going to end up bouncing back. Do you have any context for AJ Brown? I didn't actually watch that game too much.
I do. I'm gonna forget who. Actually, it might have been Nick Ercolano, who I heard it from. I'm just trying to give credit to where I heard the source, but um, he was bracketed all game. It seems like the Cardinals defense likes to do that against the opposing team's number one receiver. I should have pulled up the stats for like their defense against number one receivers so far this season, but that's what Nick Ercolano was saying is that they have a really good corner in Byron Murphy, and so they strapped him up against AJ Brown all game, and then they also had a bracket safety over the top. And after that first drive, I don't know that AJ Brown caught another pass. So they really just took him out of the game plan, made him go to Goddard and Devonta Smith. So I don't think that one's on AJ Brown. Just happened to be the situation.
Got you. And then Jalen Waddle out there playing with the third string quarterback kind of comes to be expected. There's going to be some sort of tail off somewhere. So
Yeah,
again, this.
and
Oh, go ahead.
and still hampered by injury. I just
Hmm.
wanted to make that note as well. So not his fault either.
Yeah, so not a panic button situation on really any of these guys, I guess, unless you have Brandon Cooks. It's just me kind of making fun of Brandon Cooks at this point. I don't dislike Brandon Cooks. He's just on the Texans. But
Um, that one's worth talking about too, and I think you're right. Maybe not panic button quite yet, but Nico Collins is starting to take over a little bit. It's not nearly as clear that Brandon Cooks is the one. I think Nico Collins got the higher target share in this game, so that's worth noting going forward.
got you, got you. And then rolling over into the tight end position, we got a couple people that we don't really like to see them on this list. People that have been performing up until this point. So again, nobody to really panic on. The tight end position is pretty rough, anyways. But we got T.J. Hawkinson after a huge week last week has now made our duds list, which
I wanted to see him on this list. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Fuck T.J. Hawkinson.
but it's like we've said before. T.J. Hawkinson, he's not great, bro. Like last week was a good week, but again, none of us expected to see that again, and he's kind of right back where he belongs to be at. We got
He's
Gerald.
fine. Sorry, give me a sec. He's fine. Okay, he's all right. But anytime there's anybody worth a damn on the field with him, he turns into a zero, a dud. He does nothing. That's going to continue to happen. Expect it. Don't think that TJ Hawkinson is good. I've been lied to. I thought he was amazing. He got drafted as the number 8 overall pick. Dude, I hope. I just thought of Kyle Pitts. This. Oh, scary. Sorry. Hopefully that's not the case with Kyle Pitts too. Hopefully it's not all a lie. But man, get Hawkinson off your teams, bro. He sucks.
Yeah, Hawkinson, he's got to go. Like last week, if you didn't sell him high, you may have fucked up. Going forward, we got
We
Gerald
told you
Everett.
to.
We got Gerald Everett, who didn't have a great week. Pat Fryermuth, also not a great week. Something happened to Pat Fryermuth this week, or did he just not have a good week?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I didn't see any notifications about him getting injured or anything, but I didn't watch the game.
Yeah, it's that team is going through a lot of going. Oh no, he did. He got a concussion in the second half. That's what it was.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I remember because
Good.
people were
Good
worried
note.
because this is his third concussion.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So Pat Fryermuth, a little bit of a scarier situation. So if you're a Pat Fryermuth owner, definitely keep an eye out. Definitely try to have some other options because we don't know when he's going to come back. Especially this is his third concussion of his career, and this is what his second year. Yeah, not the best sign. And we also got Tyler Conklin, who put up, I believe, a big old goose egg this week.
0.
Yeah, that's again, it's sort of what we expected. He's been
It's the
performing up
Zach
until
Wilson
this point.
experience.
God damn, bro, love Zach Wilson, man. He's electric.
This is what you got to expect with almost all of the pass catchers going forward. Not zeros, but everybody's going to be inconsistent. Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis, all of them. It's going to be a roller coaster ride with Zach Wilson in there. There's not going to be consistent volume. Um, so yeah, if you're streaming Tyler Conklin, that opportunity may have come to an end. Gerald Everett, I wanted to talk about a little bit because your boy Donald Parham came back healthy for the first time this season, and
hmm
I honestly didn't think that was going to have a huge effect on Everett's role. I thought even if they both played, you know, Parham was more of like the big body seam stretcher, red zone target type guy, where Everett was more of like the intermediate and short routes. He's more quick and athletic and stuff like that. But nah, man, he really relegated Everett to not that many opportunities. So I'm worried that if you're a Gerald Everett streamer owner, which I am one of, this might spell bad things for the future.
Yeah, he might end up taking a bit of a back seat now. I think Donald Parham still ended up putting up a goose egg, right?
Yeah, I didn't. I honestly didn't see his fantasy performance, but I was looking through like Twitter threads about performances for each team, and in the rundowns, they were talking about how Parham's like route participation was fairly high.
Yeah, and that's just that guy's a monster of a human being, bro. He's six
Yeah.
eight. I mean, he's who I would start if I'm being honest. He's who I'm throwing in there just to see what he would do. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think Everett probably seen better days. If you are an Everett streamer and you don't really have any other options at tight end, I would take that look into Donald Parham because he's probably going to be available in your league. He's someone who should be available, but again, tight end position is rough, so we don't really know too much about it. So that's going to round out our studs and duds. And we're going to move into our buy low, sell high category. So just to go through last week's buys, we have Jamison Williams, who, spoiler alert, he's also going to be on this week's because he's not back yet. We got Raheem Mostert, who we had on last week's buys, which that panned out pretty well. And the week before that, we had Brees Hall, we had Lombardi Lenny, and we had Gabe Davis. So it's looking like we're
Oh,
kind of the guys here.
let's
Yeah.
go, bruh. We are cooking with gas. We're on fire.
Dog.
Listen to us. Listen to us. We're telling you the truth. Go get these guys, man.
Dog. We're killing it on the buys and sells. And last week's sells, we had Mr. CEH, who you should have sold him after week one, honestly, you know what I'm saying? But if you sold him last week and you were still able to get something good for him, good for you. We had Mr.
Yep.
TJ Hawkinson on our sell list last week, which y'all saw what happened. And on a more sad note, we had Rashad Penny on our sells last week, which it was a good sell. It's sad the reason why it's a good sell, but it is what it is. It's fantasy football. It's still a good sell, and he was on our sales week last week, so we're still gonna pat ourselves on the back for it a little week. Still wishing Rashad Penny a speedy recovery and just a good recovery, but yeah, that was our buys and sells. We're killing shit. Hopefully, we can keep killing shit. So we're gonna get into this week's buy lows. We've got starting off again, Mr. Jamison Williams. We're expecting not a lot from him when he comes back, but this is still. They had a down week last week. We're expecting the Lions to bounce back from that, especially after the bye week and them taking some time to reevaluate, getting DeAndre Swift back. But when Jamison Williams gets inserted into this offense, with it being the offense that it was, at least weeks 1 through 4, there's a very high propensity that he is a good fantasy option. We've also got Mr. Christian Kirk on this list after 2 straight weeks of sort of struggling out there on the field. We do very much believe that Christian Kirk is going to bounce back soon. It's just a matter of when. We've also got Mr. Drake London of the Atlanta Falcons, who have been playing a lot better than anybody expected to. Who probably, yeah, there were some people were saying there were some shaky calls in that Atlanta Tampa Bay game. You know,
Fuck yeah, there were some shaky
there were some
calls.
shaky calls. But after next week, Atlanta's schedule is going to start to open up a little bit more and be a little bit more fantasy friendly towards people like Mr. Drake London on this team. So that's something to look forward to. There's greener pastures on the other side. Do you have anything you want to say about these three guys before we get into the next couple?
Yeah, I'll go pretty quick. But Jamison Williams, you mentioned he's not back yet. You can probably still get him on the low. Um, Guys in this offense have shown that as long as you're a healthy body out there, like you're gonna score points. Even when Amon-Ra St. Brown went down, T.J. Hawkinson stepped up and he had a great game. T.J. Chark has had good games. Not Khalif Raymond, but who's the other guy? I'm forgetting his name right now.
Um,
Uh,
Let me see real quick.
yeah, not a good look. My bad, y'all, for forgetting the name. But these guys who seemingly no-name scrubs have come in and produced really well in this high-powered offense. And Jamison Williams is far from a scrub. He should be back within the next couple of weeks. They get the bye this week, and they've talked about him in that like week 7 to week 9 schedule sort of time frame for return. So give him a little bit of time to ramp up, but late season, I think he could be really, really valuable.
The name we were looking for was Josh Reynolds.
Josh Reynolds,
Yeah.
there it is. Yeah.
I love,
So
I love how you
what's
started out
up?
that too, like the whole just bunch of no-name scrubs. You'd never expect it, but they're doing it. It's God damn.
Including T.J. Hawkinson, by the way.
God damn.
Another dig. Hate that guy. And then Christian Kirk. Yeah, just this was a weird game. He did get back into the slot after getting forced outside, like he did in that Philly game. So surprised to see that he didn't perform, but I'm not too worried about it. His target share, not this past week, but over the weeks, has been really consistent and above 22% or so. So I'm hoping for a bounce back there. And then Drake London, he's another guy that's been dominating the target share. It's just the team's struggling against tough matchups. So the schedule is definitely going to open up, like you said. They had a really tough one against Tampa Bay this week, but brighter things ahead for him.
Yep. And then our next little bit of these receivers, everyone we're going to name next is a good receiver, and you're wondering why it's a buy low, but it's because they've been struggling, or at least they struggled this past week. So just to list them out, we got Jamar Chase, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then the Miami wide receivers in Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Now, if the person who owns these players, if their team is a good team, you know what I'm saying? Like they're doing fine, they're 4-1 at this point, 3-2 even, and they've got time where they could take a couple losses and waiting for these guys to get better. You're probably not going to be able to buy them low. I can tell you that right now. They're going to value those guys highly because their team is doing fine. Now, if it's a team who is 0-5 at this point, 1-4, maybe even 2-3, and they're ready to hit that panic sale button because they feel like they need, or they're severely lacking in other positions on their team, that is a situation where you could possibly buy these players low because they're ready to just see what they can get back for them. You know what I'm saying? So, you have anything you want to add to that one too, Eric?
Not too much. Yeah, these are panic button guys where if somebody in your league owns them and they're panicking, then obviously try to swoop in and capitalize off of that. But it's not likely that you'll be able to get a deal done. It's just trying to make you guys aware of potential things. Jamar Chase is one that I want to talk about a little bit because I do believe in him. I think he's the truth. I think he's going to turn it around. But he's the guy on this list that I think maybe I'm worried is going to continue to be like slightly disappointing of all of them. He's definitely a dynasty buy for me if anybody is trying to hit that panic button, which again, even less chance that they're doing that. But the Bengals and Joe Burrow have struggled against cover two coverages the same way that like what defenses were doing to Patrick Mahomes last year, where they just capped him. They put two safeties over the top. That shell coverage everybody likes to talk about. Tyreek Hill struggled a little bit due to that. I think it's the same thing with Jamar Chase. So hopefully they get it turned around. And I have all the faith in the world in Jamar as a player. But yeah, that's just one I wanted to talk about a little bit more in depth.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. I believe in everybody on this list as a player in terms of like
Yeah.
these final guys. And it's just, yeah, if someone's willing to hit that panic button or they are floundering a little bit, like Eric said, you could capitalize. Not me saying to be predatory on the bad teams, but at the same time, we're all playing for money here. You know,
Just a little bit.
just a little
Just a
bit.
little bit.
So, and we're gonna roll over into our sell highs. We got one name on here might surprise you. We got Mr. Joe Mixon. We got David Montgomery, and we've also got Michael Carter. Now, I want to remind everybody again that by us putting someone on this sell high list, unless they're Clyde Edwards-Helaire, we believe that they are a good player. We're not saying that they're a bad player whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? It's just a
Yeah.
situation where you may be able to get something that could bolster your team a little bit more instead of sort of riding this roller coaster with a player who you don't know if they're going to perform week in and week out. And Joe Mixon
Yeah.
thus far has been pretty inefficient and just sort of back and forth with that.
Yeah, just one more note about that. Even with Clyde, I said when we first put him on the sell high list, he's not somebody that I expect to be a total dud for the rest of the season. I expect him to have his games. They're clearly involving him in the red zone and stuff like that. It's just the efficiency was unsustainable. He wasn't going to continue to do what he was doing. So it's more so of a probability thing that he's not going to continue to be as good as he's been, and hopefully you can capitalize on that type of value. So that's kind of what we're trying to say there. Yeah, Joe Mixon is one that I was a little bit conflicted on. I was talking to you about this before we started the video. He was somebody that like 2 weeks ago I was considering buying low on because the underlying metrics are there. The opportunities were really, really high. The red zone opportunities, like the inside the five carries, were really, really high. And it seemed like he was just unlucky and not getting into the end zone. But the more the weeks go by, it seems like it's less about luck and just that he might not be as explosive as he once was. This offensive line is way worse than we expected it to be coming into the season. And the offense isn't as consistent in getting into the red zone and getting into scoring opportunities as we thought it was going to be to start the season. So if that is any sort of consistent going forward, then I think Joe Mixon might be somebody you want to try to find somebody to get you more consistent fantasy value going forward.
And there's some important things to note when it comes into going in the trades and stuff like that. Some of you might even be watching this and wondering, Joe Mixon's he struggled in the last 3 weeks. He had one good game last week, weeks 3, and then this past week 5, more struggle. You might wonder, oh, he hasn't put up big numbers. Why is he a sell high? And the reason because he has a lot of name value. You know what I'm saying? He has a lot of name value. He's on a team that people still value as a good team. It's just one of those where you're kind of selling somebody a name. You're hoping that someone's going to take that because they think Joe Mixon is still that fringe first round, second round running back that you picked in fantasy. You know what I'm saying? So I could easily see a situation where you could maybe even trade a Joe Mixon for like a Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce and another option, maybe in a 1-for-2 trade, where people would be willing to do that, I feel like, because they don't trust the Texans offense, even though Dameon Pierce's role in that offense is solidified. Would you agree with that or echo that sentiment?
I think those preconceived notions are things that people hold on to, especially in season long, for maybe a little bit longer than they should. Like you said, Joe Mixon was kind of that borderline first round pick. He's been in that same territory for the past couple years. So, they might be holding on to his draft capital or anything like that. Whereas Dameon Pierce is the opposite. He was a 4th-round pick in the NFL draft. He's outperformed on a bad team. Maybe they're thinking, it's not going to be sustainable. So, yeah, I would like that deal a lot. Dameon Pierce is somebody that I really like.
Yeah. And then Michael Carter also on this list just because there's a lot of home leagues out there, man. If there's people like us who know fantasy football and know that Michael Carter only scored as many points as he did that last week because he ended up vulturing 1-yard touchdowns off of long Brees Hall runs. But those who don't pay that much attention just see, oh, Michael Carter, 16 points. He's pretty good. And you can take advantage of that if you want. You know what I'm saying? It's like I said, bro. You don't want to be a dickhead, but at the same time, it's a grown man's game, Yep. People got to do the research if they want to succeed and they want to do well. And if they don't and they end up getting taken advantage of in a situation like that, it's sort of on them at that point. It's not even really taking advantage of them. It's just they had all the resources in front of them. They just didn't see what you saw. But that's going to round out our buy lows and our sell highs. Eric, you have anything else you want to say?
Did we mention David Montgomery? Did we say his name in the cells?
I think I said it, but I don't think we talked about it too much. We can go back and talk about him.
we don't even have to go that in depth. He had a decent week this week against the Vikings. The Chicago offense kind of outperformed my expectation. He was still pretty inefficient. He got almost all of his points off of some long receptions late in the game. So I just don't think that it's super sustainable. And I would be looking to swap him for a better option. But yeah, that's all I got to say on that front.
Hell yeah, I completely agree. I don't trust this Bears offense whatsoever.
Yeah.
But again, David Montgomery, one of those names that you might be able to swap for something good as well. But with that being said, that's going to round out our sort of week 5 recap, our studs and our duds, our buy lows and our sell highs. Appreciate you guys for making it this far in the video. Make sure you do all that good YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe. We're going to keep trying to keep bringing you guys this good content. Yeah, man, if you made it this far in the video, we love you. Thank you for watching.
Appreciate
Eric, you got anything you want to say to the people before we go?
Not too much. Yeah, just check us out on our other social platforms. We're out on Twitter talking about fantasy football. We got a TikTok that we just started. We're going to be posting more videos on there. All of the links to that stuff is going to be down in the description. So check us out. Follow, like, all that good stuff. We love y'all. Have a great week.
Hell yeah. Have a great week and peace.
I'm winning again. How could I lose? I was born just to win. Could never lose, so I'm winning again. I'm winning again. I'm winning again. Minute by minute, I'm meeting the end.